Guys, it's finally time to start the 2JZ swap in the 280Z. You heard it correct. It is finally time to start the 2JZ swap in the 280Z. But before we do, we got a little bit of work to do. As you can see, I pulled that oil pan back off that we swapped on a long time ago because we needed a rear sump pan. It's a bit of a shame because we had it all sealed up nice, but it had to come back off for an important purpose. I was talking to a guy that I had bought this from, and he had done a rebuild on it, which all he did is he slapped some new bearings and everything. However, he told me he did not change the connecting rod bolts and the main cap bolts. And those are torque to yield bolts. Not a good idea to reuse them. I'm not gonna risk it for the cost of putting new bolts in, so that's what we're gonna do real quick. I got bags of bolts here directly from Toyota. I did not go with ARP bolts for these because if you put ARP bolts in it, you're supposed to get it line honed because those ARP bolts are different hardness. It can change the shape slightly of the connecting rods and the main journals enough that it could cause an issue with the new bearings. It might not, and I'm sure people have run it, but I'm not going to risk it. There's no point in getting this machined or anything right now because this is not the final iteration. We are going to be NA for now for the initial build of the 280Z. However, down the road, a couple years, whatever it takes, it's going to get turboed, which means since this is a GE VVT-I, it has the weaker rods, so we'll have to pull this back out. We'll fully build it, and it'll get machined at that time. We'll put ARP bolts in everywhere. So for now, we're going to replace the OEM connecting rod bolts and main cap bolts just to be safe. So we're going to start by taking the main caps off one at a time. We're not fully removing everything, so we're just going to do one cap at a time. Those are brand new bearings. However, I don't see any assembly lube, which I don't like, so we're going to throw some assembly lube on it. That crank journal looks just fine. Now, if I wasn't gonna pull these caps actually off and look at the, now if I didn't want to put assembly lube on all of these, I wouldn't have to pull the caps off even. We could just change the bolts. However, I want to take them all off now and put assembly lube on everything. And we'll just retorque them down. These get 33 foot-pounds. However, that's not the end. Since these are torque to yield, you torque them to the torque spec and then you turn them another 90 degrees and that actually stretches the bolt, which is why we do not want to reuse these. Easy as that. So I'll just zoom through the rest of these and we'll knock those all out. So overall pretty simple. Now we can move on to the connecting rod bolts. The only difference here is I'm going to push the connecting rods down so I can get some assembly lube on both sides. And these go to 22 foot-pounds, and then another 90. There we go, easy enough, just slap those in. Now we're ready to put everything back together. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna clean up my oil pan over there, I'm gonna throw it back on. Catch back up with you guys when it's time to throw the clutch and the transmission in. All right, so don't forget, guys, we're putting a CD09 transmission out of a 350Z on this 2JZ. They do not match up. Months ago, I had bought a Fish Racing Tech adapter and put it on. So if you guys don't remember, this bell housing has been replaced. I had cut off the bell housing from the CD09 transmission and put this adapter bell housing on from Fish Racing Tech. It's specifically made for a 2JZ to a CD transmission. Fish Racing Tech, F-I-S-C-H. Not a cheap one, but I wanted to go with a full bell housing adapter instead of the adapter rings that bolt on to the stock bell housing. Because, I mean, I haven't used one yet, but everything I read is these are more reliable. So that's why I went with this. Comes with a Tilton clutch slave in here all ready to go. Comes with an adapter flywheel because we need to go from the bolt pattern of the 2JZ crank in here to a 350Z clutch. So that is our special flywheel, also from Fish Racing Tech. It's part of the kit. And I've got a McLeod 350Z clutch here. So you just saw me put in Fish Racing special pilot bushing right there so that the CD transmission input shaft will fit in the 2JZ crank. So now we got to throw our flywheel on. I got our ARP bolts all ready to go with the ARP lube on the shoulder of the bolt. So let's throw that on real quick. There we go, she's all together. We're all ready to go, everything's buttoned up, so it is time to drop it in there. Almost forgot to put the Apex engineered engine mounts on the 2JZ. For whatever reason, I only picked up 6 bolts. I got no idea why I did that. And these ones are slightly too long. So what you want by the looks is an M10 by 125, 20 millimeters long. These ones are 25, they're just a bit too long. So I'll pick those up at some point. Not a big deal, we can do that when it's in the car. Well, would you look at that? The 2JZ is all in there. So, we just gotta put our custom transmission mount in that we made a few months ago. Oh, well, it's in. That was a bit of a struggle getting that in there by myself, but it's done. Having the mounts and everything already made definitely helps out because I didn't have to do any fabrication today. Especially with the Apex mounts, makes it easy to locate where the 2JZ should go, building off there for the transmission mount. But again, we already made that, so it's in. Just had to bolt it in today. Actually, the 2JZ sits way further back and way lower than I would have pictured in my mind. It's a decently long engine. It's a straight 6, so it's gonna be longer than a V8, but it's not very wide. And it is taller than an LS because the cylinders go straight up and down instead of in a V. But anyways, this is how it all fits in here with the Apex kit. You can see you got tons of clearance around there. Most of the engine is behind the front cross member, which is going to help with weight balance and handling and all that stuff. So that's nice, especially with that heavier 2JZ. It's much heavier than the stock 4 or 5 speed, depending on what your car came with. That CD09 is definitely quite a bit heavier. I don't know the weight, but I did look it up at some point. I don't remember. It was a decent amount heavier. Same if you go with the T56 instead. But everything fits in there good, even the CD09 in that stock transmission tunnel. I didn't have to enlarge the transmission tunnel at all. All I did was take out, there's a brace that goes around where the ears come off for the stock transmission mount to be. It's right about at the biggest point of the CD09. So I decided to take that out just to give us some more clearance. If you have any questions about that, go back a few videos. There's one where I'm finishing up stuff underneath. You can see where I cut off that transmission tunnel support. So taking a look inside the car, this is where the back of the CD09 lines up with the shifter hole. I am told that we can easily find an aftermarket shifter that goes on there. The stock shifter is too long, but GK Tech and other companies make shifters intended for swaps. So we just have to do some measuring and figure that out. But very happy to make this progress. The 2JZ swap has officially started. It's not coming back out until the car is running. So obviously it's not much to look at right now. It's an old, dirty engine. I didn't really clean it up. I messed around with one valve cover over there. Once it's back out, because we have to pull it back out to paint the engine bay and everything, We'll clean it all up then, make it look nice. Maybe powder coat the valve covers. But it's good enough to get running now. In my opinion, like, yeah, it would be nice to put this in once and never take it back out. But right now, there's a lot of work that has to be done. I'm sure it's going to be fabrication. I don't have to worry about scratching a thing right now. There's nothing that I could hurt in here except for the apex stuff. Essentially, I don't have to worry about scratching the engine bay. If I scratch the fender still at this point, if I, nick something on the valve cover or something on the 2JZ, I don't have to worry about anything happening because it's going to come back out and get fully cleaned up. That's how I'm going to do it. I definitely see the positives in getting everything painted first before you put it in, so you don't have to take it back out. But I almost did that, but I'm worried about trying to paint that in here in the middle of winter when I got to heat the garage. You got this really hot fireplace over here with all the fumes in here. So I'm thinking, because of the timeline that we're at right now, I don't want to stop working obviously right now. So we're going to keep working on this 2JZ swap, and we will pull everything back apart later, paint it, reassemble. I think that's the best option. Let me know what you guys think though. I posted a poll on YouTube the other day on what color you guys think I should paint the 280Z. Right now, I'm leaning towards white. However, I love a red car. I've had a couple red cars. I did an LS1 swapped S13 240SX years ago. That had to be 15 years ago or so at this point. Is before anybody was making kits. Siki and other companies make kits now. You can drop everything right in. This was before they even did that. And actually, there's a couple of videos, just old clips and stuff on the channel if you guys go way back. But anyways, that car I had painted C5 Corvette Torch Red. I love that. My last car was a C6 Z06, and that was Victory Red, and I love that color. So, red with black accents just looks really good. We are going to have bolt-on fender flares here. They are not getting painted. They are staying black. I know that's controversial. A lot of guys don't like it, but a lot of guys do, and I'm one of them. Anything that's chrome on the car is going to be black. There's going to be no chrome. It's either going to be black or it's going to be removed, depending on what it is. So basically, we're going to have the base color, and we're going to have black accents. I do not want a black car. I do not want any dark color car. I've done that before. I never want to deal with that again. It's too much maintenance. Every little scratch shows up. It's not happening. No black car, no dark color car. So I'm thinking white, red, maybe a blue. So anyways, let me know what you guys think about the color. We got a long ways to go, but I would like to plan ahead and make a decision at some point. So any input would be helpful. And the easiest way is to either leave a comment down below or go check out the poll on the community tab, leave a comment there, or YouTube only lets me have 4 options in there. So the 2JZ is in. We got a lot of parts to buy now that I've got that in there, and I can take some measurements like the intake manifold, exhaust manifold, all that stuff. I got to go through all the parts that I got when I bought the engine. They've just been sitting in boxes in the barn. I don't know what's in there, to be honest. I don't know what I'm going to need to buy. So look forward to that stuff. When we're not done with body work, we still got a little bit of rust back there on the hatch that we got to take care of. It doesn't look like much, but I got to get the glass out first so we can see fully what's in there. And I got another little project to do on the hatch too. We'll do at the same time. And I just sprayed the engine bay with some gloss black spray paint. I didn't prep it at all because it's just temporary. I was just sick of how depressing it looked with all the surface rust and the gray primer and all that stuff in there. And just throwing that on there, it looks so much better. So look forward to something else similar to that soon. But anyways, hopefully you guys like this video. Leave me some comments, and I'll see you in the next video.